December 6, 1982. The bi-weekly edition of Japan's immensely popular comics anthology, Young Magazine. It was here that the Akira phenomenon was born. Akira, the teenager, awakened to his hidden powers. Powers that he could not control. Powers that swept the megalopolis of Tokyo and the world. In the maelstrom of World War III. Our stage is Neo-Tokyo, the super techno city of 2019, 30 years after the Holocaust. A ravaged city, and one totally unaware of the cause of its misery.
Here in
Neo-Tokyo, millions of survivors swell in chaotic vitality and surge forward toward an unknown future. It was this amazing vitality in the face of anarchy that Otomo sought to explore in this, his greatest work, Akira. In the next hour, we will interview Otomo and his associates to see how this adaptation was brought to the screen. First, let's get the author's view of the production.
It was never my intention to make Akira into a motion picture. It was originally created as a comic strip for Young Magazine. But when I was asked to develop my story for the screen, I became very intrigued. I had always liked animation, and I'd even gotten together before with some friends to create shorter animated films with other characters. So why not try it with Akira? The difference between comics and animation? Well, most obviously, at first, the characters' mouths start moving, and then they start acting. It's just a given with animation that something's got to move. So, when I began working on adapting Akira into an animated film, I thought, just let the characters go. Let them act by themselves. It was in this direction that I first started to develop the concept of Akira as a film. About Neo-Tokyo, it is extremely difficult to express the depth of such a vast city. As I originally developed the comic, I used each issue to build more depth and size to this mammoth city. I kept trying to achieve this by creating a variety of situations to stage the graphic storytelling. But with film, you get to combine all this into one. And I think it is much more convincing on film than in a serialized comic strip. You see, a comic is just a picture. Yet, with animation, you get to add color, sound, and motion. In this way, I felt that I could really create the type of environment that I wanted to depict as Neo-Tokyo. As for the heroes, well, there is no one hero in Akira. In actuality, there are several central characters. Kaneda, Kei, Tetsuo, the Colonel. They could all be called the heroes of this motion picture. It was never my intention to build this story around one central character. Rather, I attempted to show many different perspectives on life and personality in the vast megalopolis of Neo-Tokyo, circa 2019.
The movie Akira is about the city Neo-Tokyo and the people who live there. Now, let's take a closer look at some of these people. Data File 1. Shotaro Kaneda, age 16. An outsider who is far from obedient and cooperative. He is known to act before thinking things out. The organizer and leader of a bike gang. he is perceived by his fellow students as more than a little egotistical.
Ow! Hey, that hurts!
How'd you like to try that on me, fish face? Tetsuo! Where are you taking him? Shut up!
Tus trailers. Visita mi canal.
Data File 2, Tetsuo Shima, age 15, the youngest member of Kaneda's gang, known to have an inferiority complex because he is thought to be weak and immature. He is thought to be extremely introverted.
Oh, let's run away somewhere, huh? You and me, coward.
But where can we go?
You think I'm a loser? It's not my fault I was smaller. Well, there'll come a day when I'll show all of you.
Data File 3.
Data File 3, K, government assigned code name. Her real name remains classified. Age 17. Joined and became active in a terrorist group shortly after her brother died in prison. Strong-willed, yet sensitive.
Hold it. Stop right there. Look out! She's got a gun! All right, that's it.
Data File 4, Colonel Shikishima, age 42, career military, on special assignment in Neo-Tokyo. Father was a member of the Self-Defense Forces and participated in the original Akira project prior to the start of World War III. Shikishima knows the secret of Akira.
The people lost their pride in our great achievement a long time ago. Now all these fools care about is indulging themselves. A giant step backward in man's evolution toward eternity and redemption. The ultimate scientific nightmare. I can't believe the politicians would dare to tempt fate again.
Data File 5.
Data File 5, Kyoko, sequestered by government. Realized extrasensory powers at age 9. Adept at telepathy and clairvoyance. Number 25 in the top secret Akira project.
The city was covered by a dark shadow. It began to crumble. The people started to panic. And then it happened. Akira came to visit us again.
Akira?
The city was destroyed. Many people. They all began to die.
Data File 6.
Data File 6, Takashi, sequestered by government. Realized extrasensory powers at age 8. Especially adept at psychokinesis. Number 26 in the top secret Akira experiments.
What are you waiting for?
Data File 7.
Data File 7, Masaru, sequestered by government. Paralyzed from the waist down by polio at age 6. Realized extrasensory powers at age 8. Especially adept at second sight and psychokinesis.
I came to get you. You know we aren't meant to exist in the outside world. Come on, let's go home.
It's the Army helicopters.
Data File 8.
Data File 8, Akira. 28th and most successful government ESP experiments. File access restricted. Mitaka, an area of Tokyo and the site of the Akira production studio. A studio that never shuts down. It is now 2 a.m. and even at this late hour, the staff is still hard at work. Over 150,000 cells or drawings have to be produced in order to make this film. And the drawing and checking of each cell takes a great deal of time. Here, a member of the production staff is checking the movement of a particular sequence of cell drawings. It is the basic process of animation, and the checker is making sure that each drawing is correct. At the peak of production, up to 70 staff members worked out of this studio. Let's take a look and see how the production of Akira the motion picture is progressing.
まずイメージボード。大友監督直筆のこのボード集は
Otomo's drawings are displayed throughout the studio so that his concepts for the film can be shared by all. The true potential and power of animation can only be realized in full-scale theatrical animations such as this.
新しい可能性と魅力があふれている。
With the proper attention to detail, you can actually sense the characters coming to life. The sheer volume of drawings is overwhelming. The film has been divided into 4 parts, with 783 individual scenes. And of course, Otomo, as writer and director, had to provide all of the initial storyboard drawings and preliminary layouts by himself. It shows how demanding and time-consuming the process of animation can be. Each segment was made for 70mm film. It was determined that this larger size was necessary because of the intricacy and precision of each drawing. Let's follow the storyboard of the sequence in which Kaneda has to bring his bike to a screeching halt to avoid being injured by an explosion. Otomo's layout is tremendously exciting and highly realistic. We can almost sense the full impact of the action from his drawings alone. Now, let's see how the scene turned out. We asked Otomo about his storyboards.
I draw a tremendous number of boards. I actually draw every possible scene that could appear in the movie. Then I begin to cut out the ones that aren't absolutely necessary. That's why the storyboarding took such a great amount of time for this film. I think it is the most difficult part in the whole process of animation. You really have to finish your film on storyboard first. You can't edit after you've shot a lot of extra film like in live action. Of course, some editing takes place, but it is normally just to overlap scenes. I really put most of my energy into this phase because I knew it would help every other part of the production.
After the story has been set, it is time to begin developing each sequence. These sequences contain several scenes, with each scene having a life of its own. It took unbelievable concentration, dedication, and skill to create these scenes for the movie Akira. Let's take a look at one scene in particular.
Council meeting and instead have instructed their organizations to stage a general strike. As a result, it seems certain the strike will begin as scheduled.
Okay, what'll it be?
Red bennies, 3 of them.
Let's see.
We've got the clowns cornered near the expressway.
Hey, this isn't a dance hall, sport.
You got a bad attitude, Pops. Lighten up before your arteries harden. Hey, man, that stuff will stunt your growth.
How many times do I have to tell you, punks? At least he's a paying customer.
Then I won't tell him what's in it, huh?
This is the local hangout called Harukiya. Notice the wrecked car outside. In live action, this would just have been a second unit shot. But in animation, look at the details it required. Inside, there is the bar. Here, we see a schematic of the interior of the Harukiya. Here we see the jukebox and the doorway.
Well, about the Harukiya, I really didn't know what to call the place. The actual name is irrelevant, and it could have been a dress shop, a noodle shop, anywhere that gave the feeling of a neighborhood hangout. That's all I wanted to accomplish with this particular setting, and I also wanted a name that sounded familiar. It seems to me that film is just a series of connected edits. It would be great if you could see the whole thing from the start and to be able to feel the speed of the action and the overall feeling. In other words, if a film were just one big scene, but that is not the way one makes film. Realistically, the film is a series of divided scenes and actions. Then you create a montage, and the result is the final film. That is why I took such great care to construct each scene in this process.
Every scene creates its own world. To illustrate, let's see what the high schoolers of the year 2019 are like. This is the technical school, where Tetsuo and his gang have been assigned.
Listening to me, whip! You lost me, coach. Shut up! Oh! Shut up! Ooh. Shut up! Shut up! Shut up! Shut up! Got it?
Man, what a jerk.
Better off at home with my old man. Like that.
You Neanderthal pile of crap. I'm gonna get you someday. We'll remember this, slugwort.
Well, I guess some things never change. And as for the teachers, not that much different, huh? In the film, Otomo introduces us to several interesting female characters, such as Kei. Let's look at the group scene. When you look at them in line drawing, you can see each individual movement, but these go almost unnoticed in the movie. But the overall effect is what Otomo was looking for. Many have accused Otomo of presenting his female characters in a less than flattering light. Why is that?
So, you think these girls I draw aren't cute? I'm often asked why I always draw such strange-looking girls. Well, it's hard to say, because there is no real reason. It's just that most comics emphasize super cute girls. Actually, it's easy to draw good-looking girls. Anyone can do that. Okay, I'll draw some cute ones too, if that's the only way I can make a living.
Why don't we take a look at Kaori? She's kind of cute, don't you think? She plays Tetsuo's love interest. But things never did go very well for her.
No! It's the clowns!
Kaori!
Remember the other night, huh?
Shut up! Kaori! What happened?
This is a student ID card. If you could read the right side of the card, you would see that it's filled with school rules and regulations.
So, okay, do you punks expect me to believe that you were all on your way in the middle of the night to see your sick mother? And then you accidentally ran across a group of clowns They attacked, and you had no choice but to defend yourself?
Whoa, not bad.
Pretty much the same as we have now.
おやおや、人間そう簡単には変わらないんですね。ネオ東京観光絵はがきではなく、これが本物のネオ東京建設工事現場。
This is the construction site that figures so prominently in the story. Each of these dots represents a lighted office window at night. Here they are painting the windows in the building, each one carefully done, as was the lettering. Even the commercials appearing on the TV monitors were precisely drawn. What a job. It requires a great deal of precision and fine work to express the vastness of the city.
She
is working on the mechanics. She's adding some color to one of the helicopters. Each part contains all the details of the real thing.
一点一点が実物と見間違えるばかりのクオリティだ。
Let's talk to the art director. The most difficult part of this project was to show the vastness and the complexity of the construction zone. Now, in order to show how large the city is, we have to draw thousands of individual buildings and other structures. And then, to show depth, we must use perspective. For instance, we begin with 3mm windows. The one behind would have windows only a ½ millimeter, and the one behind that could be represented only by a dot, perhaps a line. It requires very precise drawing. Now, we had a lot of night scenes, and one usually uses the blue tones to create that effect. But I tried to use an unorthodox color scheme stressing reds and greens. It's an experiment that I always wanted to try, and Otomo approved. And that is why I was so very happy to be involved in such a progressive project with an innovative artist like Otomo at the helm. Let's take a closer look at the coloring process. Just take a look at all the different colors. Altogether, there were 327 distinct colors used in this production. It was quite a challenge, especially in animation, but it was necessary to create the effect of a real city. This is how the colors are coordinated. Take a look at the finished product. Doesn't it look real? Let's hear more about this from the color coordinator, Miss Yamana.
Well, it's quite a bit different from anything I've done before. The film takes place mainly at night. If you look at the color chart, you will see the tremendous variety of dark tones. Many colors you wouldn't see in any other animation. There is such subtlety in the various tones that you wouldn't notice them on a television screen. But in the theater, the large variety of colors really makes a difference. It helps to create the night scenes, but it was quite difficult.
一つのキャラクターが基本的に5段階彩色されているんですね。
As you can see, there are 5 different color schemes for each character.
It certainly was a challenge working on Akira, but it was also a very rewarding experience. Some days I would select colors that worked perfectly with Otomo's vision, and other days I would pick totally wrong color schemes. One day would be very satisfying, and another would be quite exasperating.
プレスコ映画「アキラ」が日本のアニメ界を驚かせたのが
The dialogue for this film was pre-recorded. This was quite revolutionary, especially in Japan. Usually the voices are added after the animation is done.
子供がここにいるんで、それを見てちょっとふっと気がつくんですね、これに。でこれでぐーっとカメラ寄ってきまして、こいつのこの間にインサートカットが入って、一番最初にオートバイがぶつかったあたりの絵が入りまして、で、お前はあの時の白いガキじゃないかっていうふうにここで気がつくわけです。でそこに大佐が入って、セリフを先に録音し、その声に合わせて口の動きを。
In the case of Akira, the dialogue is recorded first, and then the animation is done to match the mouth movements and timing. It's quite time-consuming and extremely expensive.
大友監督自ら演技指導に臨んでいる。みんな真剣な表情だ。そして
Otomo himself is directing the voice actors. They look quite serious, don't they? After the line is laid down or recorded, the animation is done to match the lip synchronization.
ぶち殺してやるぜガキども
よせ
うるせえ
なんだ
お前の力はまだ完全ではないんだ。無茶をすると取り返しのつかぬことになるぞ。私たちの指示に従うんだ。
お前たち俺の頭をどうしやがった。
落ち着くんだ島哲夫。
コントロールができないのです。
うわー！いて金田なんでこんなところに。哲夫大丈夫か。助けに来たぞ。早くしろよバカ。急がないと外の奴らが。
金田君
お前もそこにいたっけな。いいんだよ金田。俺はもうお前に助けてもらわなくてもいいんだよ。これからは俺がお前を助けてやる。そん時はいいな金ちゃんよ。
セリフの母音に合わせて
There are certain shapes for each of the vowels. Fortunately, Japanese use just 5 vowels. A, I, O, E, O. The same as in Spanish. This is how it works.
アキラ
アキラ
とこうなる。
Let's ask one of the actors what he thinks about this system.
プレスコっていうのは全く初めてでした。
For me, this was a first. I know pre-recording is often used in America, especially at Disney. You know, after I got into it, I felt like I was doing a radio drama. It really lets an actor get into the part and express himself. After my first take, I was quite amazed. I watched the screen and noticed the character I portrayed, and it was just like the animated character was talking with my voice. It wasn't like animation at all. You can use each word to carry the emotion you want. It really was a fantastic experience. I was quite impressed. This is the quick action recorder. The QAR is the secret weapon in the pre-recording process. This machine is used to check the voice and mouth movement of the animated character. The computer indicates whether or not the dialogue is in sync with the picture. Here is Mr. Murata. Usually, the animator has to check the lip sync by himself. It doesn't always come out right. Now, when you use this computer, you can check everything before you go to the expense of developing the film. This means that we can retouch or adjust the timing during the pre-recording sequence. It really improves the end result quite a bit. It is really a significant advance, and we couldn't have done it without this new equipment. When you compare this to normal voiceover recording, you can really see the difference. We also were able to mimic the actors' movements as they spoke, making the animation quite realistic. It's been a long time since we've been able to achieve this kind of accuracy in recording and sync.
I just felt that recent animation here in Japan had become too conventional. I also felt that voices are so important in establishing the character of a film. You can realize the effect of an entire film just by listening to the dialogue. Still, I wanted more than that. At first, I began by interviewing many 15 and 16-year-olds for various parts in the film. But they all sounded the same to me. I should have tried harder in this initial phase. Eventually, I ended up using a lot of new and unknown voice talents. In this film, as you know, we used the pre-recording system. I did this because I expected the voice actors to create their own character personalities. I thought this approach would be better than me telling each actor exactly how I wanted them to speak.
Well, I think Mr. Otomo is really a genius. He didn't push us into any characterization, so we had to learn for ourselves what he wanted his characters to sound like. It was a real learning experience. For me, that was the most important element in the whole process.
Akira was created by Otomo, and it became an entity unto itself. As the film developed, so did this new entity. It wasn't just the author's sole vision. Everyone involved made a contribution to the finished product through their cooperation, dedication, and enthusiasm.
総動画枚数15万枚を書いた作画マンたち。
It was the actors faced with a new recording technique. It was the artists given a rich and expanded palette of colors with which to create over 150,000 separate images. Let's see how the director put all this together. Of course, the ideal situation would be to produce the film in sequence, to be able to draw each scene and then put it together with the next scene exactly as the producer desired. Unfortunately, this never happens, given the tight schedule and deadlines of animation. Now, for Akira, we're using 4 different chief sequence directors to complete the project. And I won't know how it'll actually turn out until we are finished. Nevertheless, I was really moved by the sophistication of Mr. Otomo's work, and I'm committed to doing my best to get it right. If we compare the production of Akira to a ball game, we would see a ball passed through many, many hands, all guiding it to its final goal. And one of the hands it has passed through is Marvel Comics. Marvel was impressed enough with the story of Akira that they translated the comic series into English and released it as one of their graphic novel series.
My first impression was the artwork was so wonderful. Mr. Otomo's story seemed to fit what I thought were the tastes of the American audience. He was dealing with a science fiction theme, which American audiences like, but he was also dealing with beings with paranormal powers, which is a very popular theme in American comics and in American science fiction now.
Here is where the cells are photographed. It is Asahi Productions in Tokyo. The highest photographic techniques were used in transferring the drawings to film. This is Mr. Misawa, the director of photography.
Most theatrical movies are comprised mainly of daylight scenes. But in the case of Akira, most of the action takes place at night. This created several interesting problems, and we had to use extreme care and the right photographic equipment to get the desired effects. It was Mr. Otomo's wish that the film have an overall dim look that is most difficult to achieve with a camera. So I got around it by overlapping the drawings against each other as well as against the background.
The latest computerized technology was used throughout the making of this film. The computer graphics were done at the high-tech lab in Tokyo. For sound effects, the synclavier audio system was used for the first time in Japanese animation. It produces a really remarkable audio experience. It literally places the audience right in the middle of the world of Akira. The combination of animation and synclavier recording gives almost limitless possibilities. Let's hear from the sound effects director.
This film had a very complex sound effects track. And that complexity was enhanced by the fact that I had to learn by doing on this project. It was quite a bit different from anything else I've tried in the past, because literally anything and everything was used to create our library of sounds. Technically, we were able to achieve great success with this important aspect of the film. I feel it was the combination of so many different sounds that created the feeling of harmony I think you will sense in this film. In fact, there was harmony throughout the entire production of Akira. Everyone worked very well together, and I am sure you will enjoy the end result.
Another unique experiment involved the use of the artist group Yamashiro Gumi. It is their belief that the finest instrument in all of music is the human voice. It was their chorus that gives the film Akira its special presence. We talked to Mr. Yamashiro. When I was chosen for this project, I was told by Mr. Otomo to create my own music through his story. So that is what I did. It was quite a luxury not to have any deadlines or budget restraints to worry about on this project. We took 6 months, and I really appreciate the opportunity that was given me. So the music was entirely my creation and my responsibility. I'm not yet sure if our musical score turned out right or wrong. I won't be able to tell until I have the privilege of seeing the final film. I will be happy if the music appears to fit the mood of the film. I feel that I came close to Mr. Otomo's vision, but only time will tell just how close that really is. Finally, let's hear from the author once again.
It's difficult to express in words what I wanted to achieve in this film. You could interpret a film based on its theme or on its technique. Certainly, this film can be judged on those terms. But I can't say this is a movie about friendship or parapsychology because it's just not that simple. For example, I can't simply tell you this is a story about the friendship between Kaneda and Tetsuo. It would not be an accurate description of the film. I think I put many different dimensions into each character, and the film, therefore, can have several meanings. I also wanted to use the film to experiment with many new techniques, such as the number of colors and the use of orange for night scenes. These, as well as many other technical innovations, were the hallmarks of this production. I wanted the film version of Akira to exist on many different levels. I hope that the audience can get a feeling for what we achieved and that they will be excited by it.
見たの。
夢？
人がいっぱい死んで、私たちはもう一度アキラくんに会ったの。
アキラ。
Sus trailers, visita mi
ブラウンの
canal.
やつが感情拷問に追い込んだぜ。
我々が変えるのではない。アキラを望む人民が変えるのだ。
もうよせ鉄を殺す気か。
俺に命令すんな。
あの力には触れてはならんのかもしれんな。1988年7月16日、アキラが目覚めた。